right, welcome to another episode of the LogiCast. My name is BlankaKong. I'm joined by Mr. Esoteric Skills and Gunner Eos. Know how to Wolf for Zeta today. They couldn't make it, but that's all right. Because today we're going to be talking about collecting and why we do it. So we've done a previous episode on what would we be doing if we weren't like gamers, like what would our hobbies be. And I know one of mine would be like a heavier collector. But even though I do game and I do collect video games and I play often, I still collect a lot of stuff. So some of the things that I currently collect are Monster Hunter things. So I collect Monster Hunter statues, Monster Hunter miniatures. I'm actually working on a Monster Hunter card collection. So um, there was two card games that Capcom published back in 2007 and 2008 for Monster Hunter, and those cards only came out in Japan. This is like now almost 15 years ago. Crazy to think about, but so I've been collecting those cards, and I've been trying to get a master set of all the cards made from that game. So that's one of the things that I've been collecting, and it's been about 3 years since I started that. I've also collected Pokemon cards. I've collected video games. I still collect video games, and I also collect statues and figures, and that's a lot of different stuff. And my collecting bug kind of activates. Like I'll have different like phases or different itches. So like there'll be a string of weeks or a string of months where I'm like really collecting like certain figurines and stuff, and um then I'll take a break from that, and then I'll work on my Monster Hunter card collection, and then maybe I'll take a break from that, and I'll look for some rare like Sega Genesis games or something like that. So it's it's weird. Like I collect a bunch of different things, and one of the reasons why I enjoy collecting is the thrill of finding things that are just hard to find. So and finding them in the wild, right? Like finding stuff online is pretty easy, but when you're
Yeah.
actually at a shop or at like a flea market or something like that, and you see that rare item that you've been looking for, or rare item that you didn't want to necessarily spend a lot of money on, and you see it for like a really good price, those moments, like those moments are really, really, really what make collecting a lot of fun. And those are the stories you kind of share with like fellow collectors. Um, so yeah, I've rambled on enough. I'll let somebody else take the stage and tell us about their collecting habits.
Okay. I'll guess I'll go unless you wanted to go first, Gunner.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think we all got a fair bit to say. But yeah, I,
Okay.
I'll go after you.
Okay, cool, cool. So, I'm also a variety collector. I collect a slew of things from video games to statues, uh, to comic books. The list goes on and on. Um, and they also scales from comic books to games to uh even posters, things like that. It could be one thing about anime. It can also be about a video game. It's several different things that I collect. I don't have any real particulars, and when it comes to certain things that I collect, it's only mostly things that I like. So while some people will collect, like, let's say, fossils and things like that, or they'll have like a particular video game that they only solely collect. I'm a bit different. I kind of dip and dabble in different things that I find enjoyment in, or I have played or encountered. Um, so the reason why I personally collect is because I like to see things that I really enjoy outside the scope of their media. So, for example, I'm a big Chung Li fan, and I like to have things within my home that actually have Chung Li on them. So, I have a fight stick that has Chung Li. I have statues of Chung Li. I also have like a pop figure of Chung Li. So, it gives a nice like illusion of me paying, like, showing appreciation to an imaginary character that I really like. And it also is me showing appreciation to the people that created this particular character that I enjoy so much. Um, so I mean, I can dive further in, but I'm gonna let Gunna get his turn, and then we'll discuss, I guess, more about our collecting habits and stuff.
All right. Okay, if it wasn't obvious, I'm also a collector. Um, I never, I guess when I collected, it started kind of young. I used to collect the Pokemon cards back when Pokemon was really big in the United States. Never played a single game of Pokemon, but I just collected the cards because I thought the artwork was really nifty. And I had that like childlike, ooh, shiny when I saw holographic cards. So yeah, that's when I started collecting. But pretty much over time, my collection now consists of mainly Legend of Zelda. I'm a big Legend of Zelda fan, always have been since I was young. And I used to have just different Zelda games because obviously I would play a Zelda game when it came out. And then eventually, I started putting these things together and they started adding up. So I'm like, oh shit, I have a pretty sizable collection. So over the years, I've collected certain, Zelda strategy guides for the Zelda games that come out, manga. Believe it or not, Zelda has mangas that cover the specific games. I've had my collection fueled by, funny enough, BlankaKong from his the pull from GameStop. He would give me promotional material which I framed and put on my walls. He would give me little Zelda knickknacks that might have been part of a collector's edition or just there but they never sold. And he'd be like, "Hey, you want this?" I'm like, "Is hey, like, it's a little it's Link shooting his little slingshot. Yeah, I'll take it." So I added to the collection via that. And yeah, every time I find something Zelda related, now we have Amiibo. So recently, speaking of Kong, he gave me a really nice Legend of Zelda themed chest with actual 25 and 1 rupees in the chest, which have some heft to them. So I have that. He gave me like a lot of the champions from Skyward Sword. So I have like now amiibos are added to the list and new Zelda coming up. So I'm probably gonna add the collector's edition and a Switch when the inevitable Switch comes out. Yeah, that's my main collection. I guess I also collect Gunpla, if you call that a collection. It's more like a build than display. So I don't really collect as in I buy all of them. I buy some of the Gunpla that I like. I build them and I display them. And to round it off, before we get into the nitty gritty, I'm about to fall into a rabbit hole because every day I get closer to buying Warhammer 40K miniatures. And I've been good so far and stuck to novels and books. But I think pretty soon I'm gonna start buying some miniatures, and it'll just be like the Pokemon card game. I'll never play a game in my life, but I'll have 1,000 armies. Anyway, that's my collection status, I guess, as it stands now.
Okay, well, good luck with the Warhammer stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I've definitely, because like on Instagram or whatever, I follow a lot of like painters and like crafters,
Same,
people who like sculpt
same.
things, and yeah, so like I definitely understand the itch because it's I don't know what it is about small figures that's so cool. Like, and I have big and small. Like I have large 12-inch, 13-inch. I have Yorm the Giant, which is like 15 inches, right?
that's a big ass. That's a
Yeah,
big motherfucker.
it's a big boy, right? Like I have that, but also have things as small as like an inch and a half. Like I have Barrioth figurines that I ordered. They're like this, well, whoever's listening or watching this doesn't see me making a gesture with my hand, but they're small. They're like an inch and a half, right? They're really small Barrioths, but there's something, I don't know, something cool about it. It's
I,
like it's a Barrioth in the palm of my hand.
you know what I think it is? I think it's subconsciously because Kong and myself actually went to school for like art and whatnot. So what I think it
Oh,
is
okay, that's that. Me and Kong went to school. I'm like, you pleb.
no, 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 no. No,
That pause got me a little. Ooh, okay, where's this going?
no, no, no. Trust me, it's going somewhere nice. So what I'm trying to say is that to be able to like execute so much detail on such a small canvas is probably very, very appealing, and like it's something like really amazing about it, you know, like to see, of course, to see like a giant figure, which is equally as impressive in terms of like uh how they created it and how much detail goes into it. Absolutely more work, you know, if I do say so myself. um it's just with smaller figures, to be able to, if it's executed right, to be able to see the minute detail and still be able to capture the essence of what it is that you're building. I think it's just probably something that's like super appealing, you know. But
I would, yeah, definitely an appreciation for the amount of work and just the, you know, just the sheer like impressiveness of like being able to like this little tiny thing the size of a thumbnail, like,
mhm.
but it looks like a dragon, right? It's like what the fuck, like that's so sick, right? I don't know,
Exactly.
I don't
And
know.
it could be, it could also be the lack of space because we're not made of money. So it could be like, oh, well, we can add another figure to the shelf, hundreds of them within a particular size, as opposed to them being like all 15 inches big. And it's like, shit, I ain't got no place to put them. At least, you know, coming from me, you know.
Yeah, I think it's something about seeing like I don't know. I think it's also to my card collection. Like I love one of the things I enjoy about collecting, specifically trading cards, is organizing them. I don't know what it is, but I love organizing them. Like, and
Mm.
it's tiring too. Like just sitting there for fucking hours, like just shuffling around these cards and like getting them in order. That shit takes mad time, and it's exhausting in its own weird way. But like the reward at the end, be like, like seeing the complete book and everything is in like in its perfect sequential order, and like if I want to find a card, I could find it at the snap of a finger. Like I love that, and so I think as far as like miniature figures go, which I guess you could include amiibos into that conversation,
I
Yeah.
would. Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, like seeing a whole wall of them, I don't know. There's it's a hell of a sight. Just like seeing
It's
a whole army of miniatures is like what the hell. This
It's
is like a
like
little
it's
civilization.
it
yeah,
it gives a sense of accomplishment. Like, look at all this stuff I went through to collect all these figures and put them together. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I look at my figures, I can pretty much envision where I've gotten them from and what I had to do to get them. So to have like a bunch of miniatures just around, I'm pretty sure you didn't get all of them in one sitting. So you could probably like, oh, they look so cool together, and you can look at each one and pinpoint, well, I got this one off of maybe a yard sale, or I got that one based off upon somewhere at Target or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, I remember every piece of Zelda merchandise that I got. Like I'm looking at Twilight Princess for the GameCube. I remember when I bought that. That's the first game I bought to a GameCube for. You know, the how you Esoteric gave me Ganondorf from Twilight Princess. I still have that. Like I remember, you remember where you get this stuff from, and
That's
it has
funny
that
because I forgot.
sentimental. Yeah, see, yeah, yeah. See, like I have that. I have the posters. I have a bunch of stuff, and there's something. I think that there's something to the miniature thing because I haven't, like I said, fallen into the money pit yet. But I remember Smash Brothers. I believe it was Melee used to have in-game gotcha machine that
Yes,
was
yes.
in-game currency, no fucking credit card required, and you would pull essentially amiibos or what would become amiibos in the future. And if you collected them, you could display them in like chronological order, or they had an option where you put them on a giant table within the game. And I sometimes would stop playing Smash Brothers, do the gotcha for a little bit, and just kind of look at this digital collection of varying Nintendo characters and different poses, and I would just look at it. And this is just a digital thing. It's not in the real world, but I think there is something to the miniature thing because just seeing it on that giant table in the game was like, that's pretty freaking cool. So I think there is something to the whole miniature thing, and you know, there's also something to the space thing. Esoteric was, talking about. My Zelda stuff takes a lot of room, and I don't know where the fuck I'm gonna put 40K miniatures, but I guess I'll figure something out.
Yeah, like for my room, I know the viewers can't see it. My room is relatively big, but I also have a lot of like big shit around it. So it consists of like giant posters and giant figures. But when it comes to organization, the king BlankaKong, like he's the master of like put him in fucking Tetris. I bet you he become the champion because he's able to contort shit and make it fit, immaculately. I haven't mastered that, so I have plenty more figures to display, but I'm not sure how I want to go about organizing them. Um, so it's to Blanca Kong's point in regards to like facilitating and organizing cards and stuff like that. There's a lot of that goes into your collection as well, like the statues and the posters. It's it's a journey, man. Because once you get once you get the item that you want, then it's like, okay, well, and I preface this saying, like, once you get the item, you're not even thinking about where the hell you want to put it. You're just like, at that time, I gotta get this goddamn item. It looks cool. I want it. I got the money right now. All right, item purchase. You're not even thinking about where the hell you're gonna put it until maybe you get home or till you like unbox it and you stop admiring it. And that's even if you unbox it, because if you don't unbox it, the dimensions with the box included might be bigger. So you're like, where the hell am I gonna put this stuff? So
Mm.
that's also my thought process as well. Collecting it's a fun gig that doesn't really
It's
pay unless you're
it's
selling.
fun, sure. I'll concede that 100%, but it's definitely not healthy. It could become unhealthy very quickly, if you allow it to get unhealthy. I have. I mean, I don't even want to sit and calculate how much I've spent on all the things that I've collected over the years because that number will depress me. Um, but I will say that it's an ongoing battle, like restricting myself. Like you have the money in the bank, but it's like, is this really what I want to spend $100 on, or $200 on, or $1,000 on? I'll have the money, like all the bills are paid. I can do it, but you know, putting on the big boy pants and going, no, this is not a smart investment. Let me put a cap on myself every week. Every paycheck, I give myself maybe $100 allowance to like spend on that or whatever that looks like for you, right? I think that's important too. Is to put limitations on yourself because it can go south quick. Um,
Yeah,
Especially with
absolutely.
like something small, like Pokemon cards, for example. Holy shit, does that stack up
Especially
quick?
nowadays. Wow.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Like I've been on both sides of the spectrum where I've been that guy that was like, I don't care, I want it, I'm gonna get it. And then now being a little older and being a little more financially independent, because back then, I had mom to back me up. I had, less bills. It was, I was more inclined to utilizing my money for things that I wanted. But, moving along, getting older and acquiring my own bills and my own, solace, so to speak, in terms of like living in my own home, my own place, and et cetera, et cetera. I tend to be a little more cognizant of that because I've been in situations where my bad decision making has cost me a substantial amount of money because I purchased collector's items as opposed to putting that money towards more money towards like the principal on a credit card and stuff. Not to mention the cycle continuously perpetuates because when I was younger, I would use some of those credit cards to fund my collection habit or at that time addiction or whatever. Um, so yeah, you definitely made a good point on that, Kong. At this age, I could probably speak for all of us. We definitely have to be more cognizant as to how we spend our money, or I think we've gotten better at it, I would say.
Oh yeah, I used to be the guy that bought like every collector's edition that came out, even if I didn't really like the game a whole lot. Like I bought an Assassin's Creed 3 collector's edition. Well, I liked the game; it was okay. It wasn't $100 something for a statue, okay. So yeah, I've definitely narrowed down the things I collect, and the reason why I kind of like lean, like I do buy stuff for my Zelda collection every now and then. Like the most recent thing I bought was um well, Khan got me the amiibo for Skyward Sword because there was rumors that it was going to be hard to find, and we saw like a million of them 5 minutes later. But that's besides the point. I have it in the box. It's looking nice next to my Skyward Sword on the Switch and my Skyward Sword on the Wii. So I kind of like have I have the generational, the game. I have the OG and I have the remake. But things like Zelda, I can easily spend thousands of dollars. There's a statue of a bigger version of Link from Skyward Sword on his horse for like 4 grand. Could I do that? Maybe, sure. Should I do that? No. So I could admire it and go, you know what? If I hit the lotto, yeah, I might get the 4 grand Link on a horse. But now it's just like, no, I'm not going to do it. But to my other point, that's kind of why I've kind of shifted to collecting things that I put together, right? Like the Gunpla and soon, more than likely, the 40K miniatures. Because for those that don't know what Gunpla is, Gunpla are Japanese model kits based off of Mobile Suit Gundam. They don't come pre-built. They come in just plastic sheets. So it's not rocket science, but it is putting it together. It's painting it. It's applying decals and all of that. So to me, my mindset has kind of shifted to let me collect things that I have more of a, I guess, sentimental, emotional bond to, because I built this. I painted it with a miniature with the 40K miniatures. They come pre-done. Like if you buy a Space Marine, you buy it's the Space Marine, but he's just gray. And it's up to you to paint it however you want, and you customize it, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff to that. So once I get into that, like the story is like, okay, I remember that fucking gun was a fucking bitch to paint because I had these little tiny lines. Like I'll have a story related to each piece, and kind of me that holds a little bit more value than buying something and putting it on a shelf. Not to poo poo, you know, any of that, because it's fine. Like I don't want to kind of sound artsy as like, oh, you don't build your collectibles. Huh, please. But it to me it feels like there's a more emotional bond to stuff that I put together as opposed to stuff that I kind of just buy.
Well, it's way more intimate, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Like that's awesome. I just don't. Not that I don't have the ability to. I just don't. I haven't. I don't. I was gonna say I don't have the time. Really, is I haven't made the time to like dedicate to doing something like that. I haven't made. I can make the time. You can make the time to do anything in life. Um.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I'm not gonna say I don't have time. I'm gonna say I haven't made the time.
Yeah, I've built a couple of well, well, when Gunna says gunpla, I think of like the whole environment and the Gundams that are being built, and some of them are like it's like a whole type of scene being created. Um, so definitely Gunna does the gunpla. I'm gonna say that I have built Gundams before, and it's definitely a lot more intimate than just acquiring a figure. Um, that building a Gundam can go from maybe a couple of hours to maybe days. I had a perfect grade Wing Zero for those of you who know. I think it's a 160 scale, and it was beautiful. It was amazing, and I built it from like soup to nuts, from start to finish. And I was really hurt when I came home from work one day and discovered that it was broken. And it was like it wasn't a big deal because with those figures you can actually put them back together, but it wasn't salvageable to the point where some of the pieces were broken and they weren't like
I
I
was
would
saying if any of my shit fell, oh my god, that's
no
just
it
my
didn't
mind.
it didn't fall it didn't fall. It was, at the time my nephews were young. They mistook it for um it being a toy as opposed to it being a collectible, a display figure, and they were playing with it. And then boys will be boys, children will be children, and they were a little rough with it, and the pieces were like destroyed beyond reassembly. So that really hurt me, because one, I love the Wing Zero, and two, it took me days to fucking build because that manual, although it has a lot of descriptive pictures, it doesn't come in English. It comes in Japanese. I can't read Japanese, so I had to really like figure out and pay attention to how things were configured. So I would absolutely say that it's definitely more intimate, and more sentimental. Um, and also to your other point, Gunnar, well, it's also relating to this point. That's one of the reasons why I would love to get into 3D printing. Um, because one, it would help me save money. Two, I'll have more freedom to create and build things that I can choose what I'd want to have on my display or on my showcase. Um, but it's a matter of getting myself to that skill level and also making the time as well. Um, if I had a 3D printer and I had the skills to make whatever it is that I wanted and the aptitude, which I can definitely get there, but it's definitely going to require a lot of time. Um, I, there's no telling as to like how creative I would be able to get, and the types of things I'd want to build. If I there's not a lot of Golden Sun figures out. I don't think there's any. Well, in America at least. Um, so I could easily say, hey, I want an Isaac figure, and I can just sculpt it out on the Maya or ZBrush or whatever, and have it printed out. But I don't have the aptitude for that, so that kind of sucks. But in the future, with the time allotted, with me being you know, grounded and focused, I would love to pursue that to kind of fulfill uh my collection and kind of push that forward a bit more.
So
Yeah,
so here's the thing. I've also found myself kind of collecting things out of a sense, not of nostalgia, but out of a sense that I feel is gonna sound boomer as hell, but I need to like preserve this like physically. Because we live in an age where you can practically get anything with a click, right? You want to read a novel, get a Kindle. It's like a paperweight. The battery lasts for days, not even hours, days, and the books cost like $8.99 because you're just buying the rights to a file. Well, my ass scours bookstores and third-party sellers on Amazon because I want this specific book physically, and sometimes I've had to pay 30, $40, which is not super break the bank, but for a book it's expensive because I gotta have it physical. Like I have to have these pages and dead trees, and I'm starting to do that with other media too, and I'm doing it with movies. My old ass is looking for a fucking DVD player in 2022 because I want to get the anime that I like, the movies that I like. I want to get them physically because yes, it's easy to watch a lot of this stuff digitally, but things get changed, they get modified, they get quote unquote updated, and it's like, you know what? I just want the OG, the original, and if I have it in my house, you gotta send the SWAT team to come get it from me because you can't get it any other way. So that's kind of also where my collecting has gone. More so evolved from, oh, I really like this thing. I want to have more of it to, I want to kind of hold on to things, even though in this digital age, it's so easy to get. that's kind of how I've been looking at collecting as a way to just preserve certain things that mean something to me.
I get that, man. People have looked at me like, and they still do, look at me like I'm crazy because I still have music CDs, like real music CDs, and real like DVDs. And I even
Mm,
have like VHS tapes and stuff. Like I still have that stuff. Not because I'm on this like I gotta preserve everything mindset, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's just I don't know. I grew up with this stuff, and so it's like it's normal to me, uh, but it may not be normal to like the next generation. And so they go, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just download it? And it's like, yeah, that's true, but I don't know. During our time, like you had to own it to have it, right? And so it's
Yeah.
weird to like say you digitally have it and you own it. It's like you really don't though, right? Like it's what if your hard drive dies? What if the servers go out? What if your account gets hacked? You lose everything, right?
yeah.
And that sucks, right? I've met a lot of gamers who have embraced the digital mindset and have fully transitioned their collection to digital, right? And they sold all their physical copies. And I've had people come in to the shop and tell me that they got to sell their system and their game collection because of they fell on hard times, which happens. It's happened to me.
Yeah.
Um, and they would get upset because they're not getting anything for their digital game collection. And it's like, well, it's digital, man. Like, can't really do it. It's tied to your account. It's locked. You
Yeah.
technically only rented it, you know. And I've also met people who've had their accounts hacked. Right? I met on one guy. I won't say his name or anything, but I met one guy who he was super pissed because his PlayStation account got hacked, and whoever hacked it changed the password, the email, all that stuff, and so he has zero access to it. And he's tried to like contact PlayStation or Sony about it, and they're just not doing anything for him. They're not helping him. They're just kind of like, well, we'll look into it and we'll get back to you. And it's been like months, and he's had that account since 2006 on the PS3, and
Oh,
we're talking like over 15 years of downloads and save data and history and trophies and all that stuff. And like that means something to him, right? To me it means
Yeah.
it's it's whatever, right? But to him it's like this is my life. Like this has been 15 years of my life, and it's gone in an instant. And it's like, yeah, that's one of the dangers of like digital embracing digital distribution so hard,
Yeah.
is that you can lose everything in the snap of a finger, drop of a hat. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's always scared me. That's like a lot of PC players, unfortunately, that's the option now. There are no physical PC games anymore.
nope.
Everything's Steam or um Epic Epic Games or blah blah blah. And it's just like that's another reason why I can never get into PC gaming. It's like I need to have my physical cartridge because yes, I know things are connected online nowadays, but even if Nintendo servers blew up right now, I can still play I can still play, since we're talking about collections, I can still play my copy of Skyward Sword right now. I just be playing the 1.0 version. I would have to deal with any game breaking bugs or weird glitches, but I will always have access to it because I have my physical cartridge. So, yeah, I almost bought into the digital age. Digital is the future, but I guess as I grew up and started recognizing things, like, you know what? No, even if it's, I got to pay more from game places like Limited Run. I got to pay an extra 20 or $30, or I got to pay an import fee because I'm getting this game from Japan, but it has English language options. I do that because one, it looks nice in my Switch collection. I'm not gonna lie, but two, it's because now I have you. Like, unless something happens, God forbid, a fire or anything like that.
Flood, a
Like,
fire, yeah.
yeah, like I have you. You can't, like, it's not gonna get deleted. It's not gonna get removed. I don't have to worry about losing it if my account gets hacked or, servers shut down or something. So, you know, collecting before for me used to be fun, and it still is. I still have fun collecting, but now there's a more, I guess, semi-serious side to
Like a
why I collect
necessity.
certain things. For me, yeah, a
Yeah.
necessity for me. Like the same thing with the CDs that Kong has. People go like, just get Spotify, just Netflix, and you can watch, fucking the Harry Potter trilogy right now. Blah blah blah. But it's just like, yeah, but if I have these DVDs and a working DVD player and a TV to play it on, I have it all the time. So in 3 years now, if they remove it because J.K. Rowling says, get your fucking movies off, get my property off your network, you can't watch it on like HBO Max, for example. But I have the DVDs. I can watch it anytime I want, any day of the week.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that. I know when there's always a constant like tug of war between digital and physical. Both has its pros and cons. Early I discussed the whole thing about storage space and physical storage in terms of like household and whatnot. Um, Whereas digital kind of triumphs with that because everything is in one setting. You don't have to. Take out a disc or whatever. I mean, if you're that lazy to the point where you can't get up to change games, then that's on you. I personally don't have no problem with it, but I say that to say this, like both options have its pros and cons. You have the physical media that can deal with potential degradation. Like I've had a Pokemon game where I believe the component was the CMOS battery in it that
yeah, yeah.
it kind of caused me to lose my data. So every time I play it, um, and like boot it up and then and turn it off, it's I'm playing a new game. And then you also have to deal with the aspect with the digital side of things where companies are like, well, a lot of people are not purchasing this content anymore, so we need to let go. Can't knock them for that because at the end of the day, they're a business. They have families to feed. Um, well, they don't have families to feed. They have workers to pay, and those workers have families to feed. So it's a constant, I feel like you have to have a little balance between the two, and um, also just be aware of the cons that each one delivers. Um, I more lean on the side of physical because of most of the most of the things that Gunna mentioned. I align with as well. Just being able to have things at your disposal and not at the mercy of others. To not have things your content being controlled. So I absolutely 100% get that. Um, but yeah, I mean, this collecting stuff ain't no joke, man.
I mean, it is fun. It's fun, you know, like was mentioned before. It's fun finding these things. It's fun, you know. I still remember the days when we would run around on some like Lord of the Rings style journey to GameStops across New York City. Anyway, we kept it local because we were broke and we didn't have transportation. But we were just searching for PlayStation 2, DS, 3DS
Yeah,
before that got, heated from GameStop. And it's those memories you make while you collect these things that kind of tend to have more gravitas than the actual item, right? I love that I have the ability to play my PlayStation 2 collection, but I'm not playing it right now, like not this instant, but I'll still look at it every now and then. It's like, oh yeah, I remember we went to this place. Yeah, I remember I had to get this game. I remember I had one of our friends hold on to this game because I couldn't make it to the GameStop that day, but I didn't want to let it go. Like that's all stuff that you hold on to, and that's it looks like useless knickknacks to someone or just an ancient fucking video game to another, but to you it means something. So that's hand in hand with collecting, I feel, and makes the collection more memorable, even if it's not um like monetarily valuable.
100%.
which I yeah.
100%. I agree. Like I can pretty much every piece in my Monster Hunter collection. Uh, pretty much every piece. Like either I bought it, right, or it was there's some pieces that were gifted to me. So like for example, there's a small Teostra miniature figure that Gunner and Zeta gave me years ago. Right, I still have that miniature figure. It's back there. Um, and I still remember like yeah, that's the miniature that these guys gave me, and the art book that you guys gave me to go with the figure. Um, there's a little Rajan plushie that Zeta gave me, right? He was like, yeah, I saw this, and I know you like Rajan, and I still have it. And I don't have it displayed, but I have it. It's in my closet. Um, there's a little Black Diablos gachapon figure that a former colleague of mine got me in her trip to Japan. She knew that I love Monster Hunter. She saw this gachapon machine. She put in a quarter, whatever the hell, and got me a little Black Diablo, baby like Diablo Scotchapon figure. And I still have that figure, right? And it's in my collection. So it's like you said, like it's not just the piece itself, but also what the piece represents and the story behind the piece that kind of makes the whole collecting hobby worthwhile and even and memorable. Like it's not just it's one thing to like I know collectors who just buy entire collections and be like, all right, now I have the whole collection.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Yeah.
doesn't mean, and like it's not the same. Like it
Yeah,
just doesn't.
it's easily accessible for them. Whereas for us, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Kong.
You're good.
For each collection piece that we have, they're kind of like memory modules. Like we have certain pieces that we acquired. Um, like for example, the Gears of War one. I remember being at a midnight launch. I remember, Kong gifted me the like he knows one of my favorite monsters is a Cantor from Monster Hunter. So he got all the different monsters that assembled that one a Cantor, and it's like a Jolly Rancher Red, and he
Mhm.
gave that to me. He gifted me that. And I say that the our collections are more so memory modules, and they're also tied to our personalities. So whenever if I go into a Monster Hunter store right now, I'll know, okay, I have to potentially leave this store for something for Kong. If I go to like a Nintendo store and there's like a cool Zelda figure that I think Gunna doesn't have, it's like, okay, let me pick that up. Like I can see our personalities almost everywhere I go when it comes to collecting. And me being the variety collector in terms of like the different types of games and anime stuff and medias I collect, it's like you guys probably walk into every goddamn store and it's like, oh shit, yeah, Esoteric might like that. So it's more than just us just acquiring a figure. It's as you guys said, the memories, and also the personality behind it, and I to understand it is to actually do it, be a part of it. That's how I feel when it comes to like our type of collecting.
It's also a way to like advertise your passion, right? Like
Hmm.
you can go into each one of our rooms and kind of like, oh wow, he's really into this, or oh wow, he really likes these things, or oh wow, I didn't know he was a fan of this, and this. Like there's a lot of people that I meet outside in the world that don't know me, and I don't really I don't make an effort to like tell everybody what I'm into. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I just operate like yeah, I'm just a guy. But then they see like maybe they'll follow me on Instagram or something, and they'll see some like just a few pictures here and there of my collection, and I don't even advertise my collection that hard on there. Like I don't even like, but the pictures on my Instagram are like from like years ago, right? My collection has grown exponentially since then. In fact, more than exponentially, it's grown like ridiculous. I can remember when I just had like 3 Monster Hunter figures. Like, oh, look at my cool Monster Hunter collection. Now it's like this massive thing that's grown out of control. Like, I don't even have space for it anymore. Um, so interesting. Like, and people go, "Oh wow, I didn't think you would be into that. Like, you're really into Monster Hunter. You're really into like, fictional animals or whatever." And it's like, yeah, And I don't know. It makes for nice conversations, and it's a nice discovery for people. And I've been on the receiving end of that too. Like, where I would meet people and I would discover that they're into, like, I don't know, they're into Monster Hunter. Like, I've met people who I didn't think were into Monster Hunter, and they love Monster Hunter. We start talking about, what was your first Monster Hunter? What was your first Monster Hunter? And then we'd exchange stories and stuff, and it's really cool, having those interactions with like-minded people that you may not expect were like-minded, to be a little more, you have a little more in common with them than you expect. It's pretty cool too. Um, what was the other point that I wanted to bring up? Yeah, I think I've hit all my major points. What else do
Yeah,
you guys
I
want to
mean,
talk about?
um, one thing I'll say is that no collection is a bad collection. I know there are some people that like to collect high end figures and models. Like, I'm pretty sure there's the guy that has, the $4,000 Link statue with a couple of other statues that cost a couple of grand. And I know Zeta, who isn't here right now, hates pops with with
Yeah.
gusto. Very, very, very intense hatred for pops. And I don't like pops, but I don't hate pops. They're kind of just like, I get why people collect them, right? They're always coming out with something relevant to pop culture, video games, anime, music, fucking movies. And sure, you can call it a normie collection, and sure, you can say it's just corporate um corporate product, get excited by new product, sure, you can make that argument, but I can't sit here and look at someone who has a wall of pops and say you're a loser when I turn
Thank
around
you.
and I
Thank you.
I have like I have Zelda and j- little robots, and then soon little men with guns. To me, it's pot and kettle terminology right here. It's like, I'm not gonna look. You like pops, bro, and you want to have wall to wall pops, and you go to conventions just to go to the Funko Pop line. It's not what I collect. I don't like them, but do you, bro? So, I don't want to have, collection bashing. Like what you like, collect what you like. It's just
Listen,
know someone's making fun of you, but it's not
Hey,
wrong.
as long as you're not collecting like baby skulls or anything like that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Like, oh, these are the cats that I murdered in the neighborhood. As long as we're not
yeah,
doing any of
that's where I
that,
draw the line.
yeah, yeah. No, dude. But I'm not saying these people are murderer, but you have people that collect these kind of macabre stuff. They'll collect pickled, like, you know, not humans, but like I've seen pickled like piglets and full human skeletons, and people collect macabre stuff. So you
not
know,
to mention head mounts and stuff. Like they mount horse head or deer heads and stuff when they do huntings and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
and you can make an argument that that's cruel and that's like you killed an endangered rhino to have it on your wall. And sure, we could have that argument, but hey, I mean, a lot of things got approved along the way before the bullet found the rhino. So, but that's not the point of this conversation. But hey, it is a
eh,
collection,
I mean,
nonetheless.
listen, like you know, within this whole aspect of collecting, there's gonna be somebody scoffing at you. Like people who don't collect, they're probably looking at you like, "Oh, look at this goddamn nerd. He's collecting all this shit. Get a life or whatever." And then there's chastising amongst different collectors like, "Oh, you collect pops. Oh my god, you're such a lame. Oh my god, you collect you should be collecting nendoroids or whatever the hell they called." Well, to some degree, maybe having pops for that person is financially within their budget. The thing is about pops is that they're easily accessible in terms of like how diverse they are. So chances are you are going to encounter a particular figure that you like from a franchise, and they're very inexpensive. So I can understand that. For me, I have some pops. I collect them for both reasons. Um, and the aesthetic doesn't really bother me. I think it bothers Zeta because they got beady eyes and they look creepy to him. I think that's the main reason why he hates them or whatever, and they just look overall cheesy.
I think
But
yeah, I think he does for that reason he doesn't like it, and it does pop specifically have a tendency to feel very corporate. Like it's just like here is manufactured thing. Um Stranger Things is popular. Here is Stranger Thing pop. You like Stranger Thing, buy product. So pops
yeah,
do get it back because
There's something
they are
generic about
corporate.
them. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's absolutely no love when crafting those things. I know that, but it's kind of like a equivalent exchange. Like finally I have something that I can afford, that I can actually get to add to my collection that I've never had. You know, like if I wanted, which Kong got me for my birthday, a supersonic figure. Like if I looked for a supersonic figure that I would like, that would be like actual representation in terms of scale and aesthetic, I'm looking at hundreds of dollars possibly. Like it's really hard to acquire. And back then, when Kong got me that gift, I was pretty much SOL. Like I was kind of down on my luck, a little bummed out or whatever. So it was affordable for Kong. He gifted me it, and I appreciate it. Um, you know, I, I know that it is very corporate because there's definitely no love that goes into making these pops. I'm pretty sure it's just an assembly line of people pushing
Well,
buttons.
let's be clear. All the products that we collect are assembled in
Oh yeah.
factories, and they're not, and it's all commercial based. Like it's all,
Well, there are
you
some that
know.
were like actually, to some degree, like, they actually had modelers who took a little more time to
Oh,
sculpt it in the digital software and things like that. Like we're not at the degree of buying things that people just literally made three of and shipped it out to the world. But I'm just saying, like with the pop figures, I'm pretty sure that it's a lot less work. They just saw an image of a character. Oh, he's wearing a different outfit. I'm gonna make one of that and make it a limited edition. Like, so it's not much love. That is what I'm trying to say. That doesn't go into pops, but it's an equivalent exchange. I get an item from a franchise that I like of a character, and they get $13, maybe a little more, depending upon the scalability of it, like how big the goddamn pops are. So yeah, I'm okay with that.
hey man, pop. None pops aren't my thing, but I won't burn your house down if you have some. All right.
Yeah, I
Hey,
don't, I
listen.
don't, I'm not on the like the serial mode, like gotta have my pops, but I do like some pop figures.
Something wrong with collecting them. If you're into it, you're into it. Listen, I know people who
Yeah,
collect sneakers, which that's not a concept I can really wrap my head around, but people do it, right?
They
And
do it with these the fucking New Balance, not New Balance. Who? The
Jordans.
caps, the Jordans, and the fitted caps, right?
oh yeah,
They'll
I know
have
people with hat collections too.
yeah.
I know women with makeup collections. Like, oh, this is the makeup from Madonna's 1998 collect. Like, and
Or
they're really into that shit. And it's like,
Yeah,
wow, I would never spend that much money on fucking lipstick. But all right,
yeah, and
whatever. That's what you're into. That I respect
yeah.
it. That's cool.
and I can't, and I really can't knock it either, because it's like, okay, well, I don't understand the concept of you waiting in line, picking up sneakers and never wearing them. Well, their rebuttal to that could be like, well, I don't understand you buying a figure and not even taking it out of the box. It's like, okay, touche, you got me. You know, we all have I think when it comes to collecting, for people who do collect, we all have our guilty pleasures, and we all have our like particulars in which that we like to have. You know, it it's just a weird thing, and it just has different degrees. Like Kong said, me either. I can't fathom people picking up sneakers, but they probably can't
Well,
fathom me.
buying sneakers makes sense, but
Well,
collecting
yeah, like
like
collecting and not wearing them.
yeah, that one's like wow, that's strange. But I mean, it looks cool. I've seen sneaker collections, and the way they set it up and everything. It
Hmm.
looks it's striking. It's like wow, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of detail in sneaker design and stuff. So like I can
Oh yeah.
see the appeal. It just doesn't speak to me personally. All right, not enough
Same.
dragons. So but
But
well, go ahead, and then I have one more thing to say, and then we can wrap up.
okay, yeah. I'll let this be my last point. I also do like collections that are kind of themed around what they're collecting because I'm reminded of a collection that I believe Kong showed us of a Resident Evil collection. And
Oh
this
yes.
person had like Resident Evil 1 PlayStation, 2 PlayStation, but then he had like a typewriter. It wasn't an official like Capcom created type, it was a typewriter, but it was the same style of typewriter from the old Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. And he had like different stars patches and different like handmade stuff that were not officially licensed Resident Evil merchandise. Man had herbs. He had like the red, green. Like I found that so cool because it's like this is a guy who loves Resident Evil, and not everything here is officially licensed merch. But it's he might have made it, or someone made it, or he might have gotten it from like a place like Etsy or something. But it's custom made or it's handmade, but it's related to the thing that this person likes to collect, and he arranged it in such a way that's like, bro, if I walked by this in like a Capcom museum, it was like a museum, sorry, quality level of displaying, and I was like,
Yeah,
that's cool. So like, people do it. Some people just plop it on the desk and call it a day, and some people like this is I'm theming a part of my house or a room or something around this thing that I love. And those collections, I do like. I'll look at and be like, you know what? Props to you, guy, because I can
Yeah.
tell you're a fan.
Yeah, that would be a difficult thing for me to do because I just love too many things. Like I would have to have a humongous room and segment it off to the different things that I enjoy. Like as you guys can see, the viewers can't, but you guys can see that I have an assortment of different things compiled in the back. And I mean, yeah, they look nice uniformly in speaking, but there's no definitive theme.
Yeah, there's like you got some Batman, some Marvel, some DC, some Street Fighter, Final Fantasy, Pokemon. You got like things that you like, but nothing
Yeah.
that is this is Final Fantasy. This is Street Fighter. It's a little
Yeah,
bit of everything.
aside from them all being game related, that's the only way I can like kind of put them together. But
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either, right? Like that's fine. You collect things that you are passionate about. You just happen to be
yeah,
passionate about a lot of shit.
yeah,
Um, so I think that's cool. It's just for some people, it's like their passion kind of leans toward certain franchises, certain IPs than others, right? Like
yeah,
I just happen to really like Monster Hunter, so I just and a part of the reason why I collect Monster Hunter stuff is also because a lot of the shit isn't available here in the North America, so I have to import a lot of stuff. So for me, it's like, oh, this is cool. Like the idea of having this unique collection. Like not everybody's gonna have what I have, right? Unless you live in
yeah,
Japan and you're just as passionate about Monster Hunter. Then yeah, sure, I might have a similar or identical collection to some Monster Hunter super fan in Japan, but other than that, like I'm pretty sure I have a pretty unique
And
collection.
a lot of your stuff is just you
yeah.
can't really get anymore, or you gotta spend a pretty penny. Like those PSPs, they're not around anymore. You're not walking into a
Nope.
GameStop buying those PSPs. That's
Nah,
so
that's hard stuff. And I just got like today of the recording of us putting this out. Like I got my Etsy Monster Hunter skulls of Tiger X and
Mm.
Devil Joe. So
Yeah,
sick,
those
right?
look
Like
so sick.
this
Like
they're kind of small, but like they look so cool.
uh,
So props to the artists who made them.
and I loved those because like kind of going off a tangent here. I really enjoy Monster Hunter because growing up I used to be so into like zoo books and National Geographic and shit like that. And the way the monsters are, these imaginary monsters, practically chimeras to say the least, to see them interact in an imaginary environment and like to see your collection of them physically there, like that's awesome, man. It's yeah, it's worth it, man.
It's cool. And I'm starting to like. I feel like I've collected enough licensed merch, and now I'm trying to like find fan made merch. Like I'm on Etsy all the time, like seeing like what's out there, what people are making, and supporting other fans, and they're
Yeah.
supporting me and kind of building up my collection. So it's a win-win for both parties. The last point I wanted to make before we kind of head home is we talked a little bit about digital collections, specific for video games, but I know there are people who collect digital statues and you know NFTs or whatever, like digital content. And like that's fine if that's what you're into. Like I'm not gonna judge you, but for me, I need there's something special about having a physical collection of anything. Being able to interact, touch, and like hold it up to a person and go, "This is the story behind this pair of sneakers, or this pop figure, or this statue, or this toy, or this stamp, or this coin. Like this is the story behind it." Like, and being able to touch the ridges, and I don't know, there's something about
Yeah.
holding something tangibly in your hand
Yeah.
is it's just I don't know. It speaks to me on a
Digital
deeper
can
level.
never replicate that, no
It
matter
re-
how extensive it is.
it really can't. And
Yeah.
me Zeta and Gunner, we try to get together once every few days or few weeks to watch like movies or whatever, because we all live pretty far from each other, and we talked about like practical effects versus like CGI effects in movies, and like
Yep.
the difference that it you know even on screen, even something from the 70s or 80s, like having a practical effect versus like the CGI bullshit that you see now, it's just like it doesn't hit the same, it's just like like I know that's fake, you know.
It feels cookie cutter, you know.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, simply put. And I don't know, man, physical collections are I don't see myself ever stopping. There was a point in time where I allowed other people to um influence my decision as far as like not collecting certain things or not engaging in certain hobbies, and I've outgrown that, and I've kind of learned to just be happy with what I'm happy with, and not allow other people to try to mold me and change me to what they feel is acceptable or whatever. Like I'm gonna continue to collect and build my collection. um I'm gonna still pay my bills, obviously, and be a
Yeah, man. If you
functioning
don't have a
adult,
roof over your head, you ain't displaying anything.
Yeah.
right? But I'm not gonna just throw it all away because society tells me to, or because some girl I met doesn't approve of it or whatever. Like, nah, you could kick rocks if that's the case.
Right. You
So
might not
yeah,
like it, but just show respect to, just be like, oh, that's really cool. I mean, you know, I'm even that. It's just like, hey, just like, you know what? I'm glad that I'm happy. You're happy. Just leave it at that.
I take that. I'm
Yeah.
good with that. So yeah. Any other thoughts before we wrap up, boys?
No, I mean, if like I said, no shame to whatever you collect. If you love it, collect it. Just, I think we've said it a couple times. Just be responsible. Don't max out your credit card for it, and build it up slowly, and you know cherish the stuff you collect, because might not mean anything to somebody, might not mean anything to a lot of people, but it means something to you. And we all got to preserve our sanity in this fucking kooky upside down world we're living in.
Yeah, and also to Gunner's point, for those of you who don't collect or whatever, just or and do just be respectful, because what might not matter to you is something that's treasured by the person who has it. So again, as we went through the podcast, so many different memories, so many different feelings, you know, are it kind of oozes out of the figures that we have. So, if you're on the outside looking in, just be respectful. And you might not have to understand it, but respect it. That's it.
Cool. Well said. So, thank you guys for a great conversation. This was fun. For those listening or watching on YouTube, I appreciate your viewership. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you collect or what your opinions are on just the act of collecting, whether they be negative or positive. I'd like to hear. Subscribe for more content. We produce a podcast every week, and we publish it every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard. We also do other videos as well. We do 2-minute reviews on various products, mostly video games, but we'll do 2-minute reviews on pretty much anything we can. We also not record, but stream on Twitch. So I stream under BlankaKong. So you could follow me there whenever I go live. Mr. Esoteric streams on the main channel, Logical Gamers TV on Twitch. He streams usually every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but that's subject to change. But follow to be notified when he does go live, so that you can hop in and hopefully watch him play whatever games he decides to play live. We also run some social media, so we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We also run a Discord. All the links will be provided down below in the description. So if you're interested, check that out as well. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Have a good night, wherever you are. Catch you next one.
Well, next time.